Hey Rebecca,
Hi Barbara, how are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to virtually meet you. We've tried to meet up many a times over the past, but we finally got together. This is really exciting.
Absolutely. It's lockdown. Lockdown's made all these things possible.
It has, it has. Now, we have to start with your amazing studio behind you. It just looks amazing. For anyone who hasn't met you, can you just give us a quick overview of what you did before lockdown and how you're doing it now?
Absolutely. My name's Rebecca Osborne. I do quite a lot of different things, but one of my main jobs used to be at live events where I would draw live, capturing the kind of overall feeling of the event, the key points, that sort of thing. Obviously, like everyone else in live events, I've had to go online. And fortunately, we had most of what we needed to get this studio set up. We had the space. These are the normal easels that I take with me, usually to an event in a big bag, but they're now permanently set up. We've got some lighting from when we did some photography work. We've got the video camera set up here, and we're now able to basically do what we did out in the field and do it now remotely from our studio. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. That is so amazing to be able to pivot like that. And obviously, I guess you sort of count your blessings for having most of the gear already and not having to buy everything at once. Because, yeah, I found myself in that situation where I was so lucky to have a lot of the gear already, because otherwise it would have been a huge expense to try and pivot that.
Definitely. Yeah. Towards, well, sort of over the last couple of years, I started to work doing some digital versions of this as well. So I'd been doing it via my iPad, to be projected onto screens at a couple of events. So up in Scotland, in Cambridge, and I went out to Abu Dhabi last year as well. And so I thought that was how it would go, that I would be mainly working from via the iPad directly through, which I'm doing as well via sort of Zooms and via YouTube. But also what's been really nice is, because, as I say, we've got some of the tech set up already, I've been able to do what I normally do on paper, and it feels the same. It's so lovely. It feels like you're at work. It doesn't feel unusual, except when the dog walks in or where you have a break and suddenly I'm in the garden.
Oh, that's brilliant, so brilliant. Yeah, and you've been really busy as well. I've seen on LinkedIn, it's just all your videos that you've shared from live events, and also all your work from early lockdown, which I don't know what if it took you by surprise, the response that you
Yeah,
got.
it did a bit at the beginning, I think, because everybody sort of went into a bit of a freeze kind of feeling. I'm not sure how everyone else found it was, but I felt really bad, like, for everybody. And I think the overall feeling in the community was that everyone was trying to do something that made a difference and not just look at it as business. And so we were using the skills we had to try and make a difference. And so I started to do some just little illustrations, just again on the iPad, and they got picked up a bit, which was lovely. And so I sort of said, well, look, if you want to use them, you can, but just in return, just do like a random act of kindness or make a donation to a charity, and left it with the people who are using it to choose a charity, because so many charities weren't getting any help, that I felt that way at least I was doing something. And so we started like that, and then one day I saw, sorry, go on.
And these were heroes, basically. So people could message
Yeah.
you to tell you about their heroes. So that'd be NHS, public servants, shop
Yeah.
workers.
Yeah, so it started off that I did sort of an NHS one, and then realised that obviously with the term key workers extended to lots of different people who were normally the people we didn't really notice in society as well. So I did one for, like, kind of the bin collectors, and I did one for Royal Mail, and there was like a Royal Mail guy and an Amazon girl in that one. And then because my husband's a teacher, I did teachers. And so all sorts of different people, and then young carers got in touch, asked me if I'd do one for them. So quite a lot of different ones. And then I came across a young man, let's put it that way. I got across a young man who was doing something very special. He's not young at all. So Captain Tom was doing his walk-in, and I thought I just saw this image of him, and I thought I'd like to draw it. So I did. I thought, well, that won't be any use for me, so I'll just send it to him. And then the next thing I know, he's kind of shared it online. So he actually shared it from his Twitter, and it all went a bit bananas after that. But it was lovely because it was something else to kind of, I think online what people have been looking for is stuff to share, positive stuff to share. And and I was fortunate to be interviewed by a few people, so on the television and the EDP and a few different places. And it's just, I think what I found about Captain Tom, which is nice, was that you were watching the money go up rather than watching our normal figures going up, because that was quite sad. So it was nice to see a positive, and to be a little part of it was just really special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember the time, because it was actually so hard to find any good news. And I remember we were watching the news, and your painting came up, and it was like in front of a massive train station or something. It was like blown up. I said to my dad, "Oh, that's Rebecca's." So yeah,
so
lovely.
that was in Birmingham New Street Station. They were looking for something to put up, and I suppose at the time there potentially wasn't that many people coming through the station. I'm not sure, because that was at the point where they were asking people not to use public transport as much. So yeah, they were looking for something to go up there, and they just contacted me and said, would it be okay? And it's just, it was really lovely. And like I say, a few of my friends and family had seen it and actually shared it before they realised it was mine. And then, so that was quite fun. Yeah.
That's amazing. It must have been a whirlwind. I mean, it wasn't even days, it was weeks, because there was definitely a wave there that kept building momentum. So no, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for brightening up our days. And it was such a cool thing. I really loved it. Now, so I guess now looking back, because we're now, we're already in July, aren't we? Yes.
We are, yes.
Oh gosh. So we're now in July. So looking back, how do you feel this experience has been for you, in terms of what do you think you've learned from it, maybe about yourself or about your community?
I think the main thing was at the beginning was just how everybody was just almost ready to leap up to the challenge, with all the people that were volunteering and doing just lovely things. And I think, it made me realise that what I do, I mean, I could have put my hand in my pocket and put some money into a donation for something, but what I did had better value and more longevity. And it makes you look at kind of the skills you've got and the way that you can actually do things to make a difference. And also I've spoken to a lot of people since we went into lockdown about how we've kind of transformed what I do and tried to be adaptable. And I think that's made me realise that being adaptable is possibly like one of the most important things at the moment. Is that, there are ways, sometimes it feels difficult to turn what you do, which is normal physical stuff, into online, but that just adaptability and creativity. And I mean, I know there's a lot of creative people out there at the moment who have got real big barriers coming up, and we've just got to be creative and try and find ways to continue. Absolutely.
Out of that, it's I think over the last 2 days it's sinking in more and more, because thankfully I work in different industries, but one of the industries I work in is the live music industry, and just kicked off a campaign yesterday. I think it's called #Listen to the Music, and it's basically our festival's safe because we were able to crowd funds. So hopefully, I think it's safe. I've been told it's safe. So, but it's the rest. It's like, what about all the guys who provide the vans for the bands, the tech, the AV, the audio, which is what AV stands for, and all the infrastructure that goes with it, and independent venues for young bands and young musicians to showcase themselves. And I assume the same is happening in the world of illustration, and as you and me know, in live events as well.
Yeah, the problem with live events, like you say, there's so much more to it than just, looking at the people on the stage. So in my world, a lot of the delegates travel from abroad. So they'll need to use flights, or even within the country, they might be using trains or buses to get into some of the venues. And then you've got people staying in hotels or needing to eat out because they're away from home. So it's massive, really, and the impact is massive as well. So it's a very complicated thing to see through. I think that it's just a bit of, we've all got to bide our time a little bit and just not forget those people. So my husband, he's in a band and they have had all their gigs cancelled, but it's been thinking about it in terms of postponing it and making it bigger and better next time it happens. And watching the likes of the Science Festival, because I've been involved with them, and they revealed a couple of days ago that 2020 will be an online smaller event, but 2021 will be bigger. And I think that's what we've got to think about, is supporting the people who would be going to their events by making next time bigger and better, and not forgetting about them.
Absolutely. And I think on the flip side, on the complete contrast, I think we've all learned as well that actually by providing a virtual side of an event, so if we're thinking about hybrid in the future, we're actually making the event way more accessible to people.
Absolutely.
I participated in events in the US, in Germany over the last month. If this intervention or this coronavirus wouldn't have happened, I would have never been able to go and get those experiences, because I can't afford to fly great distances, let alone anyone who has a disability or anything else that is preventing them from attending. So there's, I think we've only just touched the very edges of what's possible in terms of the virtual space, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Even though I sometimes struggle to put on the laptop. I'm sure I will adapt. So it's like, oh god.
That's exactly the same message that's coming through a lot of the events that I've been drawing at over the last few weeks. Obviously the focus has been the same thing, even though it's come from different sectors. So drawing at education events, the conversation has been, again, like you say, about accessibility, and the two main strands that have come through is about how by being online we've opened it up to many people that wouldn't be able to normally attend for whatever reason, but also the issue of digital poverty, which has been so strong as well. And it's not just about people not having the money to afford either the tech or the broadband, but it's also people who have a poverty in terms of their knowledge of, like, we all now know how to do online meetings, which I didn't know how to do before, and trying to teach family how to do it, but trying to teach them remotely. So I mean, we set up both my mum and my husband's mum, but we weren't in the same room, whereas normally you'd sort of lean over and click on something and show them that way. We've had to do it remotely, which has been tricky. Like I say, one of the couple of the main clients I've been working with, one would be education sector, but I've also been doing some work for the Church of England as well, and it's been really just lovely to hear how by just adapting and being creative they found just these solutions, and people are able to do things at different times of the day. People are able to attend events, and in terms of the church, attending services, they can choose all over the world, which is really exciting, actually. And there's such a positive side to it. I've been contacted by a school in Buenos Aires to do some online work with their students, and they use Instagram to deliver lessons. And it's just, it's fabulous, because suddenly all sorts of things are possible, but also schools here can learn from the way other schools in different countries are doing it, and same with all kinds of businesses. And I think sharing one of the key things has definitely been about sharing best practice is always something that comes up in events when I'm drawing, but actually it's so crucial at the moment, because sharing our knowledge, even when you go to the level of scientifically, when somebody gets a treatment or a cure, that is going to be the way that we as the world moves forward. So it's exciting. It's horrible that there has to be the reason, I've done a few of these events where I've drawn a little a little coronavirus, and in one of them it's like I was the pick up the butt you needed. And actually maybe because a lot of the problems that I've seen, and I'd say especially in education, people have said these were things that were there before, but nobody was doing anything about it, or nobody had the funding to do anything about it, or the reason to do anything about it. And yeah, so
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, there's those things, but then there's the legit answer of we're all a bit lazy and learning new things and having to do new things. Unless you're really forced to change, it's actually really difficult to change. So if I think about Zoom, for example, I probably would have been, oh, okay, there's a thing that does that, that's cool. But I wouldn't have necessarily thought how I'm going to apply that and use it. And then it now turns out that there's a lot more stuff you can do with Zoom than just doing what we're doing now as well. So
absolutely.
I've had to learn because obviously, basically, because I'm skint all the time, I've had to learn how to edit videos, and I found some, like, again, free software doing that, and all I want to do is like cut stuff and very basic, just the basic things until I've worked enough to basically pay someone again. But it's I've amazed myself that I was like, oh, just go up and video on YouTube, find the video, and I've been learning how to do this. And I'm about to put a video out, which has been made up out of 3 separate videos. One of them is sped up, me drawing as well, out of all things, talking over it with background music. I've never been this proud. I was like, wow, it's amazing.
I think there's definitely been time for us all to kind of have time to do things that we wouldn't normally do. So if it's like learning to edit videos like you, if it's doing some gardening, if it's, I mean, my dogs think it's heaven because nobody goes out anymore, they never get left on their own, so time to spend with each other and, you know, within the home. But yeah, and like you're saying about learning new things, one of the things I learned from doing the education conferences is that teaching staff who are at home are actually, and probably not just them, are using the time to go online, find online what they call CPD in schools, which, you know, is their kind of personal development, career development. But I think that is something that's been really important, and I think that there's a lot of resources out there, like you say, that are free. I mean, one thing I would say is like the National Archive. I don't know if you know, at the moment it's free, and loads of people I speak to don't know that that is a thing. But and this is what I'm saying about sharing stuff as well. So I do genealogy as my little hobby. And I've been doing some genealogy on Zoom for people, where I've been able to share screen and talk them through their kind of family tree and do searches and stuff. And there's lots of stuff like that. It's just we've had time. It's the time you just spent in the car, the time that I've spent. I mean, a lot of my events are based out of London or down south, and sometimes I'm 6 hours in the car to get there and 6 hours back, and that's 12 hours that's mine now. Which these are the things I wonder how we will go back. I mean, I do enjoy the car. I have my podcasts on, and I listen to an audiobook or something, and that's a lot of, you know, reading time, which is great. But it's the balance, isn't it? And I think that's something that's very important to learn from.
Yeah, I have the same. Like, I do a lot of shows out in Germany, and the thing is, I actually really enjoy going to Germany. I'm one of these strange people that actually quite enjoys airports and the randomness of airports. But then, yeah, I don't really mind the whole travel bit. And then being in Germany for a few days and being able to experience it, yeah, I do miss that. I miss leaving the house is the biggest
Yes.
at the moment. I mean, we do go out and do sports and stuff, but I had the little meltdown like a couple of weeks ago where I was just like, I just need to get away. Like, I don't care where, but this house has become our home, our work, like everything. And I said, even when we're not working, I'm cleaning, I'm DIYing, I'm fixing something. I just needed to go away. So we're going to Dorset next week, a bit reluctantly, but we have a whole Airbnb booked. So I said to my other half, if it's too busy, I'm just going to be staying in that garden. But at least it's someone else's garden, it's not mine.
Yes. Oh, we've got 3 children, and my eldest should be at university, and he's just finished his first year, and he's had to come back home in March. So he did the last part of his first year from his bedroom here, which was not his bedroom anymore. So that's been a real shame for him. But I know exactly what you mean. And I don't think we've ever eaten so well, because normally, if you're rushing out in the morning, you'd have to grab a quick breakfast, whereas we can have leisurely breakfast, we can have brunch, we can have massive meals, and everyone's taking turns. There is quite a lot of mess, I'll be honest, and the shopping bill is bigger because obviously there's five in the house, and 5 of us every single meal. There's no, someone's getting fed at school or someone at uni, whatever. So yeah, for a university student, he's eaten very well the last few months.
Lots
But
of
we've
beans on toast.
been doing lots of bread making and cakes, and yeah, it's but we found a local, this is the thing that's been lovely, and I did do some illustrations when I was doing my heroes as well. We found some local businesses who, it's quite nice. So we tried supermarket shopping and we didn't really enjoy going in. It's quite scary. So we do some of the supermarket things online, because I found for the heavy stuff, they can deliver it, or I'll pick it up in the car park, that's fine. But we found a really lovely local greengrocer, and a couple of really nice butchers and a bakery that we go to. And the greengrocer is great because it serves to the door, so you stand at the door, there's like a perspex green. But yeah, we're just supporting local, and I think what this extends out not just to the local shops, but also to the businesses we were talking about, like when we think about the theatres, because our background is in theatre. My husband used to work for the theatre in Scotland, and we've got lots of friends who work in entertainment industries, music and theatre and stuff. I think we have to decide who we want to be there at the other end of this and support them. And so that's why we've gone to like local shops, because we would really like, when it all kind of goes back to whatever normal looks like, be able to walk into that greengrocer's and actually pick up the apples and look at the bread properly. So that's why we've decided to support them now. It's a nicer experience now, and we are eating better and we're eating a lot more, but that's beside the point. But it's sort of thinking, at the other end, what venues do you want to be able to go into, what people do, and I don't want to see those people have to shut those shops and go and do a different job. I want to see them at the other end. So that's.
And the same goes for the pubs and bars that are about to be. Not that I'll be able to enjoy them for some time, as I have to keep myself to myself a bit. But throughout, we were sort of looking at who's doing vouchers, how can we order stuff, and quite a lot of them, the local ones did. But I think I said to my other half, no more Wetherspoons ever. There's no need. It's so rubbish. Why do we bother?
I know you say that, but we only just got our Wetherspoons quite recently, and we were quite enjoying it. So I think there's a bit for everyone. I don't want to see any holes. We already had big gaps in our high streets, and it would be worse to get to the other end of this and see the people that had managed to survive then get scuppered by this. So yeah, okay, occasionally Wetherspoons is okay, but I say recently, it's kind of in the last few years, we've got Wetherspoons and our own little cinema, and it became a really affordable night out for us, because don't forget, there's 5 of us, that's expensive. And so okay, it's not that I do want to go to my other lovely little pubs that are nearby, because we're a coastal, we're near the sea, we've got some lovely places to go to, but I don't want any of them to go. I want what we had was getting so lovely that I want it to continue to be lovely. But
I see, and that's actually a point that I quite ignorantly completely forgot, is that actually Wetherspoons is, especially for big families, is quite often an option because it is affordable. It's just unfortunate that the guy who runs it is an absolute
I know, but then I look at the people who work in it, and they're people that live in my town, and if that went, that's their jobs going. There's a difficult balance, isn't there, in all these things? It's like the Primark, you know, we understand where the clothes come from, but then the people making the clothes might have to do a worse job if we didn't buy the clothes. So I think it's about having a conscience, but also about thinking things through beyond the immediate thing. But I don't know, I like to, if I can, and I'm more and more since this has happened, to use the money that I earn in the place I live to make that place better. And we don't have Primark. We're not big enough to have a Primark. We don't even have a McDonald's in our town. So it's like you have to go to Yarmouth to get a McDonald's, which we don't do. It's only a drive, but the nearest one's a drive-through. It's no, it's not been on the list of
Well, yeah,
lockdown sort of.
and that's the thing, like I'm guilty of it because I play football and I get my boots from Sports Direct, and it hurts me. It really hurts me to pay, and I go, oh, but that's the only, you know, it's the only place that I can sort of buy affordable football boots without spending an absolute fortune, because I know I'm just going to wreck them anyhow. So yeah, I think, yeah, there's it's going to be interesting moving on, especially with the climate crisis being the, well, let's be honest, it's going to be the next big thing. Is like how, as individuals, and I need to ask myself that question, and have a look in the mirror and ask myself, what behaviours can I change
Yes.
without compromising my entire existence, but that will have a positive impact in that sort of sense.
Yeah.
It's all about balance.
It is. We've got 3 kids, and when my son, who's 19 now, was quite young, we saw someone on the street and he wanted to give them his money. And I said, yeah, that's fine. But then I had to explain, if we gave them enough money, we wouldn't have enough money, and that there are people in better positions who could make a better difference. And I think sometimes we have to make the difference by the way, like you say, in a way, kind of looking at what we can change, and looking about the people whose businesses we use who could make better choices themselves. Because often we can do so much, but there's a lot of people out there who, you only have to look at cityscapes and all the lights that are left on, and you're busy trying to switch off the light when you leave the room, and yet these buildings are lit all night. And there's a lot, I don't know, there's only so much we can do, and we can maybe make a better stand by some of our other choices as well. Yeah.
Causes or organisations and so on.
Absolutely.
Right, just to change direction a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I love asking our good eggs is, what do you engage with in terms of reading, podcasts, watching, and that could be for self-development or just to relax and get away from it all. It could be an activity. What's your sort of recommendation of something that you really love?
Oh, that's a big question, isn't it? So in terms of podcasts, I listen to quite a lot of education ones, because a lot of my work, so alongside what I do here, I also, when I'm not busy with this, and to be quite honest, lately I've been busy with this, and this probably wouldn't work anyway, I do supply teaching. So I take what I learn often at education events, and I can go into school and I can use some of that in there, and I do some drawing stuff in there as well. But it's quite important for me to stay on top of what's going and what's going on, so I'll listen to a lot of that.
Are there any that you would recommend specifically, any education podcasts that?
So I've actually done an illustration for one recently, so I'm going to mention these guys. So there's a team of 2 called Clem and M, and you'll find them on Twitter, and you'll find them by searching them as well. And they've had some awesome guests. Another thing that's a bit of a thing I enjoy is TED Talks. Listen to TED Talks online, and it's quite cool because on the website you can kind of dial in what you're in the mood to listen to and how long you've got, and it will come up with some suggestions, which I just love that. And I also have been fortunate enough to draw at quite a lot of TED events in Norwich and down in Essex as well. And one of my favourite speakers, who I consider a friend of mine as well, is a Paralympian called Elizabeth Wright, and she was the speaker for Clement M, and that's how I found out about them. I saw her share when she was on their podcast. So yeah, I've been listening to them, and they did some funny ones after lockdown to try and lift people's spirits, because I think that's how everyone's been trying to get involved. So I've really enjoyed their podcast. That's quite fun to listen to. And there's all sorts of it's like reading, isn't it? There's more books than you can ever possibly read, and there's more coming out every day. And it's the same with podcasts and with music. I mean, I love Spotify for that, but I just look at my kids and think, you've no idea. You don't know you've been born. You can listen to anything you want, read anything you want, watch anything you want. So yeah, I've just watched a couple of amazing programs on the BBC, one about Black British history and one about LGBT history, which I think the LGBT one is the beginning of a series. I think the other one is finished. iPlayer is amazing for that, and I quite often will sit listening to stuff as I'm drawing when I've got commissions, because I do commissions of illustrations as well. So yeah, it's brilliant for iPlayer, especially if someone says, oh, I saw this, did you see it? Being able to pop on to, as I say, the kids today don't know anything before one. Crikey. We try and explain how we used to have to record things on a tape.
Yeah,
you're younger than me, you have no idea probably either. I was trying to explain to them that when my middle one was little, she posted post into the video player, and they were like, what's the video? Just think, oh yeah, you just don't know you were born. So yeah, that's my things to do. We've been doing in lockdown every Friday, we've been doing, and we started it right at the beginning actually, we did our own little pub quiz, and it started off, I think we did it 1 week, and then the following week was when the libraries closed, and the libraries contacted all of us and said you could take out 45 books each. So there's 5 people in my house. I never carry 45 books each. That's like a lot of books. But we went and had a look, and we found the most amazing pub quiz book. It's like, and yeah, so on a Friday we've been doing for friends, and it's lovely because, like you say, we can connect with people all over the world. Well, we haven't got all over the world really, we tend to be all over the UK, but friends from Scotland where we used to live, and family from the Midlands, and we'll do silly rounds in that as well. So we've done guess the weight of and it's included guess the weight of the bunny's been put on the scales, all sorts of things. My husband found a chicken racing video on YouTube that we did, and I put bets on which chicken was going to win. So yeah, really silly things, and then using this pub quiz book, which is the significance of the last book we kind of took out of the library. But yeah, using the technology to communicate with each other, and then what we'll do after the pub quiz is just have a moment of just checking up, making sure everyone's okay. And I think that's been the lovely thing about what's happened. If there's a sort of a ray of sunshine out of it, is that people, when they ask you how you are now, they genuinely mean it. I think in the past you'd kind of go, oh, how are you? And you were obliged to say, I'm fine, thank you, how are you? It was almost like when you learn French and you learn to say how are you, and they say I'm fine. How are you? It's just, we have this kind of, it's like it's expected. But now when people ask if you're okay, in both on Zoom calls or even in emails, I think it's a genuine sort of side to this where people are actually saying, I hope this hasn't affected you too much, and and they ask about your family, and something has changed. It's come through in a lot of the events I've done where people have talked about this. The last event I did a couple of days ago for the church, they talked about this authenticity of people seeing into people's houses. I mean, you're in my studio, but I'm looking into your house and seeing, the truth of who you are, and can see things about your personality. And sometimes people have kids coming through, or an animal, cat or a dog or whatever, and I think a lot of the pretense of you put on your kind of professional clothes and your high heels and your makeup for women, and it's sort of it's not always like that now, and so when people are asking how are you and checking up on everyone, it's nice, it's a genuine thing. it's one of the things I really hope carries on
Yeah, no, absolutely.
afterwards.
I'm 100% with you on that. And I do feel that I've been getting to know people more as well. So I have a friendship groups of loads of lads basically. And they're all lovely, and we've been doing these Zoom chats and everything. But normally we just go to the football and we go to the pub, and that's about it. And in the pub we just talk rubbish anyhow. But we've had I feel like I've got to know them all a lot better, even though we've been friends for years. It's almost like I'm a bit embarrassed that I didn't know them as well as I should have or ought to have. But it's just been really nice to connect on a different type of level, not just over a beer, I guess. So right, so just to finish off our we have a little feature that at the end we pick a random question out of my jar of questions.
Okay.
Now let's see what it's got in store for us today. Here we go. So, what was your most recent experience of going down a rabbit hole? Well, you can take that literally or...
Oh my goodness, you are not going to believe what's happened this morning. So this morning I have had meetings and I've been trying to get work done. When I woke up this morning, this is so funny. I went to the back door and my daughter, for her birthday in January, got a rabbit. And this morning the rabbit had escaped. Literally, this is the honest truth. This is so bizarre. You asked this question. And it had come across the garden, and this is a building at the bottom of our garden, and we've got at the beginning of lockdown we invested in a hot tub wisely. That was a wise move. And it's gone behind the hot tub, it's gone behind this building here and under the building, and we've spent the whole of this morning, and it's now about 2 o'clock, and about an hour ago it finally emerged. We thought it had gone forever. We weren't sure. We've got a fencing that side, a wall this side, but we can't see if it's completely secure here, and there's a wall behind, but there's a gap. And we've been looking and calling this rabbit. He's just been sat there eating, going, nah, you're all right, I'm fine. And I've had a 13-year-old doing her pieces, and you're going, the rabbit, the rabbit. And we're going, it'll be fine, thinking, really hope it's going to come out, because I have no idea, because it's mud underneath. It could just dig, and I have no idea. I mean, we're 2 roads from the beach. I have no idea where it will end up. So when you say, what's the last rabbit hole I've been down, I think that could have been the fact that I've been putting the straight face on to meetings this morning, and trying to get on with my work. But every time I've left to go and get a new drink, or, to pop to the loo, I've just been going, the rabbit's name's Bailey. I've been going, Bailey, Bailey, and shaking rabbit food, and then going back in and pretending it's all been fine. But Bailey is now back in its run, and it will have a much more secure lock on the gate tonight, because I think it's just managed to somehow escape.
That's amazing. What an amazing story.
That is my rabbit hole.
I also love the fact that you're shouting Bailey around. So maybe someone will bring you a Bailey's later.
Well, maybe that could be it. We've got 2 dogs called Barley and Bertie, and my daughter decided to call the rabbit Bailey, and it's just so confusing. But we just merge all the names into this one. Literally, whatever we call, all the dogs come anyway. So
That's amazing.
yeah, that's it.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me, for your time. It's been a real delight, and I'm so glad we finally got to meet up. I hope I will see you in the not too distant future, in real life, cocktail in hand, at one of our events.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have a Bailey's.
Yes, we'll have a Bailey's when you're ready.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for having me. And yes, stay safe, and we look forward to hopefully catching up again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. Thank you.
Okay, bye.